chim đa bầu.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Ryno.
Holy moly, chim đa bầu.
Court is in session with Ryan in Sacktown on If You Don't Like That. Now, Ryan in Sacktown.
Oh, must be Ryno.
After possession, 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 after possession.
Can somebody
possession,
please
after possession,
make me
after
a
possession,
Mike Brown
after possession,
mixtape?
after possession, after possession.
Can we get that somewhere? That is not manufactured. That is not AI. This was Mike Brown today at Nick's media day for the NBA Finals.
Let the dogs out. Woo, woo, woo. Who let the dogs out? Woo.
Classic Mike Brown. This like epidemic of barking has broken out in the NBA. You saw it between the Kings and the Warriors in that last game at the G1C this season, where the benches were barking at each other and Steve Kerr didn't care about the technical. Anyways, Mike Brown barking. We've seen it in the finals, or we saw it in the conference finals. How's everybody doing? With a heavy heart, most of Sacktown remembering Rick Adelman today for his contributions to basketball, his contributions to the golden era of Sacramento Kings basketball. And today I don't have a lot planned for the show. I've got a couple things, some Acuff versus Fleming's talk, excuse me. Some Charles Barkley and some San Antonio stuff. And I want to challenge you. I want to see if you can get through a minute 30 roughly of Charles Barkley going in on San Antonio without laughing. You might be at work, you might be on your couch. If you're in your car, don't take the challenge. I don't want you to get into a wreck. But can you listen to it without laughing? Because it's one of the funnier little subplots going into the finals now that they are back in San Antonio. And last night we had a really great show talking about Rick Adelman, and really Grant heavy because he spent so much time around Rick Adelman. I do not remember ever meeting Rick off the top of my head. I may have at some point, but I watched from afar. And being around some of the Kings players during my college years, I learned a lot more about the inner workings of what that team was, what that quote unquote family. I feel like I need the Brian Kelly drop right now. But what it was like. And I've now been working with Grant and working with Jerry, become really good friends with both of them and get stories all the time, especially from Jerry, who'll be joining us tomorrow, unless anything schedule-wise changes because of Rick Adelman's passing and Jerry's commitments. He's scheduled to join us tomorrow at 3:30 for Jerry Reynolds Wednesday. We'll have him every Wednesday going forward here on the King's Court. But I feel like I've learned so much about just that team and just how that team really was what it was. And there's only maybe 3 basketball teams, maybe 4 that I can think of that have ever had a chemistry like that. And I say 4 because you might see that continue to develop in San Antonio. At least you're seeing the very early stages of it with the way that they play selflessly. You've got the best player in the world, the new face of the NBA. It just seems different. It seems like it's fun. It seems like those guys want to be around each other. And when it's like that off the court, it translates directly to the court. It's something that you cannot manufacture. So we had a good show last night, and somebody called in, and I wanted to give everybody the opportunity today. If you want to call, obviously the link is on the screen. I will put it in the chat as well. We got a call from somebody that said, hey, I wasn't alive during that time. Can you let us in on what it was like back then during the golden era, 1998 to 2006, 8 straight playoff appearances? What was it like in the city? What was it like trying to go to the arena? I mean, it was a lifestyle being a Kings fan back then. And we all have our individual stories, whether it be at games, whether it be consuming more Carl's Jr. than the dude from Super Size Me, so you could get the newest bobblehead, whether it's going to a supermarket and buying 9 packs of Pepsi so you can get the playoff t-shirt, whether it's going to Craigslist to find a ticket to the games that were standing room only usually. I mean, it was impossible, but it was like you were in an arena with 18,000, and I know Arco didn't necessarily fit 18,000, so I'm rounding up. But you were in an arena with 18,000 family members. You wouldn't know the person standing next to you if you crossed each other on the street, but in that arena, you're high-fiving, you're hugging, you're talking, and trust me, you had your knuckleheads that were there to drink and be the village idiot, thinking that they can outcoach Adelman. But for the most part, it was just a really fun era. So I want to share some of my memories of that era, and I know all of you have yours. 17,317. Good job, T-Dog. So we've got a lot to do. Yes, that era was very, very special. So we hit the press release yesterday about the passing of Rick Adelman. Yeah, we're throwing Arco up on the screen today. We're putting the barn up on the screen. I'm feeling Uncle Rico-ish today. I'm feeling all nostalgic, getting those tingles. What's the Rock say? The goosebumps hitting your arm. Yeah, man. It was a drug that you would chase to be a part of a playoff crowd. Like it literally was a drug. It was a feeling that could not be replicated if you were able to go to any of those playoff games from even the first playoff game before Rick Adelman was here, but 2000 to 2003, if you went to any of those playoff games, holy bleep. Holy bleep. So Grant took issue with the end part of the statement. I get why he took issue with it. I'm not going to lament on it. It's not a big deal to me. But again, Rick Adelman, let's talk about him. And it wasn't just what he did in Sacramento, it's what he's done with basketball altogether. He took the Portland Trailblazers to 2 NBA finals. How about that? You know, Grant opened the show last night saying he's really disappointed that the Kings did not have a Rick Adelman night at some point. And I've thought about that overnight, and I don't disagree with him. In fact, you know, it's not always the best thing to open this can of worms, because once you do it, then it's, well, okay, this guy gets a banner and that guy gets a banner. This guy should have had a banner. But how is Rick Adelman's banner not hanging up in the Golden One Center? He should have a banner up there. He doesn't have a banner anywhere. And I know that's because you don't have the NBA championship. You should have had the NBA championship. But as Grant said last night, the Kings were the toughest ticket in the league. And to a degree, the way the Kings played, not their actual sets, but the idea of ball movement and scouting and looking for bigs that could do that well. And arguably that kind of sprouted in Portland with Demonis's dad, Arvydas Sabonis. That kind of changed basketball for a little bit. It really did. It was the perfect mixture of the Princeton offense, which Coachy mixed in with what Rick wanted to do, bringing the guys up to the high post, up to the elbows, the big guys. And it was special. It was fun. The Kings were on the cover of Sports Freaking Illustrated, as Grant talked about yesterday. Sports Freaking Illustrated. Don't act like, I said it last night on the show, don't act like you didn't look forward to whatever your gift was going to be from Sports Illustrated for renewing your subscription. Like you get the sweatshirt or you get your team's, I don't know, cup with the Sports Illustrated logo on it. But yeah, that's the iconic cover. The greatest show on court. It was. And Rick Adelman not only knew the X's and O's, because there's two parts of being a coach in the NBA. And the two most, actually, there's more parts. The two most important parts, in my opinion, and we'll ask Jerry about this tomorrow, of being a coach in the NBA is X's and O's, and it's player management. It is how you manage personalities. And Rick seemed to be a wizard at both of them. He gave that team responsibility, and that team, largely because of Vlade, as Grant pointed out last night, policed itself. Rick trusted them. I think about Rick, and the word that comes to mind, I said it last night, stoic. Like, you ever want to talk about the tribal chief, you want to talk about the head of the table, that's what he was. That's how he operated. Now, he wasn't like a mafia boss in the real sense, but like in the sense where if you're in that circle, you're in that circle. If you're part of his assistant, he's taking advice, he's listening to everything that you're spitting at him, and he makes the final decision. But a lot of times he would incorporate what they're saying, or maybe that grew into a bigger conversation. But he was always open to it. And he empowered his players. Grant took issue, and again, Grant was right there. I was not, with the way that Chris Webber was managed. But for the most part, if you talk about the best chemistry that you've ever seen on a basketball court, like if you made a top 5, and I'm saying this completely objectively, the Kings have to be on that list. That Kings team from 2000 to 2004. And you think about the chemistry on the court, it was just as strong behind the scenes. Him and Jeff Petrie, friends for over 50 years, roommates when they were playing together in the league. There was that chemistry that just flowed throughout the organization and into the players and ultimately into the community, man. This was a fun place to be. It was Kings 24/7. Now, people get tired of having the Kings shoved down their throats 365 days a year. I try not to do it that much here, but today, Rick Adelman, got to do it. They get tired of it because the product's not good. But back then, Kings 365 days a year, there was no exhaustion from it. You couldn't get enough of it back then. So I want to open it up to all of you. A lot more that I definitely want to talk about with Rick Adelman. Let's get to some of your comments, some of your memories, and I think this will kind of stir us. It'll kind of steer the ship to where today is going to go with the conversations. A lot of comments, so I appreciate you being here. Rock, what's up, dude? Named greatest achievement, or let's see, I named off all of the greatest achievements yesterday. 22 straight games with the Rockets, which is third best in the NBA. Yeah, it's funny. I was looking today on the media site for statistics. Here, let me pull it up really quick. Most wins in the Sack era, win streak, biggest win streaks, 12 from 01 to 02, 11 from 02 to 02, 8 from 03 to 03, and then 8 again from 99 to 99, all under Rick Adelman. Crazy stuff. So we can get into the statistics. We've got some of his Hall of Fame speech as well. Tried not to take winning for granted. I remember I looked at my dad, and he shrugged his shoulders because he couldn't explain it. It was almost like it was too much winning. Thank you, Rick. 16 years with no playoffs after Rick Adelman. That says something, 100%. Wright and Yao was hurt for part of that 22-game run. Look at you guys. See, this is why I like this community. Y'all know your basketball for the most part. Most of you. Lynn, go Spurs, go. Hey, can you tell your boy De'Aaron Fox to not drop the F-bombs on the podium? Lynn, can you send him a text? That was actually pretty funny. I don't mind it, but I hope they don't find him for it. Fans should fight for a banner to be raised in the Golden One Center. Look, ship's kind of sailed, right? Grant used the analogy of the G-Man and having the media room. So the media entrance is named after Jerry, and now the media room is named after the G-Man. And, sure, it's still a great honor in a way for future generations to remember somebody, or at least learn that person's name and be told a story about what they did. But the whole point of those things is to acknowledge that person in that moment. What do the kids say? Give them their flowers. Grant's right. It should have been done when Rick was alive, And there's no hesitancy from this ownership group to bring back old personalities from the Kings. We see them all the time. But that said, it doesn't mean that it still shouldn't happen. But how has it not happened? Let's just put it that way. I don't think it opens up the floodgates to say, well, then you've got to put everybody else's banner up from that time. No, you don't. If you look at the Sacramento Kings history here in Sacramento, there has never been a better 8-year, 9-year, 10-year period. And I know Rick coached for 8 of them ever than those years. How do you not honor that? Adelman deserves it. I love that Jerry has his already hanging up there. Sacramento Kings helping players and coaches. Very true, EMG. Help the Spurs. Grant is right. Adelman deserved a special night, but it's also possible the organization asked him and he said no, and they respected his wishes. Very true. That's the other side of it. He very well could have. I don't know that he, you know what? It's not fair for me to speculate. So that is a good point. Ryno, only thing I remember about the 8 years of Rick was the Spurs got 3 championships during that era. Damn, Lynn. Damn, man. You're just going to throw that in right now, Lynn? Come on, man. Hi, Dave. What's up today? Oh, by the way, little announcement. Grant and I are going to do for most of the NBA Finals, we are going to be doing post-game shows. So make sure to dial that up as soon as the finals end. We will be on. We'll talk about the games. We'll talk about the news from that day. So mark it down. That begins tomorrow night, immediately after game one here on If You Don't Like That. Getting tickets was so I was at a couple of the games. I was at a game in 2001, 2002, Kings Mavericks. Or was that, you know what? Let me take that back. That was 2002, 2003, Kings Mavericks. And we were standing room only. And what I thought was pretty cool about the standing room at Arco is you could see everything. Like when a big shot went down, think about the camera angle of Dame Lillard hitting the massive three in Portland, and you just see the entire arena erupt. You would see that. And that alone would take your breath away. But and that energy just reverberated, can't talk right now, up to you. And what about the upper level concession stands, man? Just the basics. It was great. You had red ropes, you had popcorn, beer, King's dogs, and I think nachos. That's it. But you had a couple of things up there, so they were right there for you. But my brother, who's 11 years younger than I knew how different that era was, and I knew that era was not going to last forever. And I needed him to be a part of one of those games. And so I took him, I don't remember how, but it's probably 7 or 8 at the time. And he got to experience it. And it was the Dallas game where the Kings ended up closing out, but the Kings were down like 22 or 23 in the early second quarter. And then Mike Bibby just went freaking off. And the Kings ended up closing out the series to go on to play Minnesota. That was the game that we were at. But chasing those tickets down, here's what, like, if you're somebody that was not alive during that time, there was no internet how you have it today. It was limited. So you're putting the disc into the computer. You're going with the manual internet sound. I'm not going to play Rome right now, but you would maybe go to Craigslist. I would go to Craigslist, and sometimes you would find some of those. You would constantly be checking in with Ticketmaster. You would be waiting on hold forever to see if anything else got released. You would be looking in the freaking newspaper at classifieds. And then there were these ticket brokers, believe it or not, just like StubHub, just like it's the other big one, SeatGeek, whatever. Just like those, there were mom and pop shops, businesses that would buy up the good tickets. And if you wanted to get in the building, you were going to pay big money to get into the building, but you could get in. It was so different. And so, and even to the point where if you made a contact, like say you met somebody that you bought tickets off on Craigslist, like you were trying to make sure that you stayed in contact with them. Like, hey, if you end up getting more tickets, can you give me a call? Like, I'll get them right away. We were lucky enough to have somebody, a friend that worked at the Arco Arena box office. And so he had access to a certain number of tickets before they were released. So we actually had game one tickets waiting for us for the NBA finals. Had the Kings won in 2001, 2002. But man, like it was insane trying to get those tickets. Insane. EMG Golden Arrow was standing in line Serious rain at Mervin's in Roseville. Random winter night had 500 people for Nick Anderson trying to get a signature. Absolute dude, Mervin's, are you freaking kidding me?
Yeah, for sure. Everything
What
you just
a
said.
pull. Is there any more Mervin's? I doubt it. Mervin's is extinct, right? I think Mervin's is gone. But yeah, Carl's Jr. for Mitch Richmond. All the time, Dorian tells the stories about trying to go out and meet Mike Bibby. Yes, absolutely. And they did a thing. They also did this for the youngsters out there. Because this happened when I was in high school. They would have the local high schools vote as many times as they could for the NBA All-Star games for the Kings. And if your school voted the most, they would bring the Kings out to your school for an assembly. Not all of them, but a few of them. So we had Nick Anderson, Jay Will, and Chris Webber out. And luckily, because I was in leadership, student council, we were part of putting it on. So we got to like meet them. But yeah, like it's so much, like that was a massive deal. And no, people didn't have their freaking camera phones on them. You know what people had? Disposable cameras. That's what they had. You would see the stands full of disposable cameras. Lynn, what's up? Ryno? Lynn. Yes, stomping on those wood floors. That building, oh my gosh. I love that building. Didn't have the privilege to attend Arco Thunder during the Adelman years. Cool to hear everyone's stories. I remember playoff tickets selling out in about 15 minutes, home and away games. I will tell you this. I knew people that had very, very good seats, like very, very close to the floor and or on the floor in some areas. They would sell one game from each playoff series, and that would pay for the entire series for them. In some cases, they would sell one game of like the conference semis, and that would pay for the rest of their playoff tickets. That's how nuts and expensive it was to get in that building if you wanted to sit down low. I was very lucky to get to sit down low because one of my mom's friends had season tickets, and they were right on the rail to the left of one of the baskets. And we got to sit there for a Kings Suns playoff game, which was electric, which I believe was before Rick Adelman's time. That would have been my junior year. Well, maybe it wasn't. Maybe that was Rick's time. Now that I'm thinking about it, 395 wins as Kings coach, 63% win percentage, 69 playoff games, batting 493, 34 and 35 in playoff games for the Kings. You could hear the arena walking from the parking lot to the entrance. Interesting. Nobody ever left that arena too, by the way. Like, you know what? That's one of the coolest things. People were in their seats before the team had even made its way out for team warmups. Not the individual warmups, team warmups. The stands were completely full. And when the team would run out, that's when the Thunder started. Like that is, and it didn't stop. And when the game ended, fans stayed. I mean, you can go back and look at the clips from the Western Conference Finals. Like the crowd's just like, we're not going home. We're just going to sit here, soak it in, get louder. Insane stuff. Rock has the magazine. Nice. Nice. Let's see. Beat the Warriors. Beats the Warriors in terms of chemistry. You know, I talked to Jim Rome. So when he came to Sacramento, I got to do like a 5-minute segment with him. and it was right in the middle of the Warriors stuff. And I said, well, he go, what did he say to me? He said, we've never seen chemistry like that before. I'm like, well, actually, you have. It's the Kings back in the day. And we kind of butted heads over that. Not like really butted heads, but he acknowledged it. I think the Kings had some influence on how teams started to play basketball. The game, that's where the game kind of started changing, because that was right there at the peak where it was, if you're a big guy, back to the basket. Those were the Shaq days. Rasheed Wallace. I could go down the list. Back to the basket, traditional big man. Do not shoot a three. Stay inside, etc., etc. Perfectly said. Perfectly said. They really were. That's why you know what? That is why America is so like quick, so quick when the Kings are good and things are going well. They want more of that. Like they want stories about that. Like when the Beam team happened, I wasn't on the team. The Kings became kind of like, I don't know, Como Sidise, like the new kid, the kid that's back that like was gone forever, and now they're fresh again. They're exciting again. And those memories that we have about the arena, visiting players, visiting coaches, other fans that would come from out of town or just watch games from their city that were being played in Sacramento, that translated because it was unlike anything that was happening in their cities. So their minds immediately go to the Kings. It was different. Like you didn't see it. And the contrast between that versus the Lakers and the celebrities and the fair weather fans, yada, yada, yada. It was the perfect dichotomy. Like it was, you couldn't have written a better script. You could have with the Kings winning, but you really couldn't have written a better script. And so that nostalgia bleeds back. So the NBA is better when the Kings are better. Just like they say the NBA is better when the Knicks are better. It's true. It's the biggest market. Look at how much hype is around these finals because the Knicks are in them. There was already going to be a ton of hype if Wemby was in the finals, but it's just kind of at the next level. They were special days, no doubt. Standing room only. The Skyline Lounge. Yes, the Skyline Lounge. It was a buffet, too. It was not cheap to eat at that buffet. It's like 40 ducats to get into that buffet, but that was fun. Love the Skyline Lounge. Hope at least the Kings can wear a patch. That's a great idea, Dorian. That's a great idea, Dorian. I think that would be very classy. You know what I have this theory, okay? This is nothing that I've talked to anybody about. It's just something that I think the Kings are waiting on. And I think you probably would have seen it if the Beam team would have continued to build towards a contender. But I think the Kings are waiting on breaking out those 2002, 2001, 2000 uniforms that came in three colors. You had the purple that had the black and silver trim. Oh my gosh, those were so clean. You had the white and then you had the black. And it's the Kings, it's like that. I think they're waiting to break those things out because how many different iterations of Kings jerseys have we seen now? Every team has like 7 different uniforms. There's no way from a marketing standpoint that you wouldn't have already gone back to those because I think they're the most classic and iconic ones. And it's from the best time ever of Kings basketball. Throw an Adelman patch on that uniform when you break that out. That's what you do. It's 100% what you do. And maybe when the Kings, I'm not going to say if, when Might not be in our lifetime, but when the Kings get back to being prominent and contenders, that's when you break them out. Like I said, maybe that's when you raise Rick's banner. Just saying. If it's in the near future, which doesn't look like is going to be the case. But we've still got a lot to talk about. Darius Acuff, Kingston Fleming's got some takes on, not takes, but an opinion on that based off of a theme that this team has had now for 3 straight off seasons, and why I think one player is look, one player has the bigger ceiling. One player is a sexier pick, could be a bigger star, but the other player, if you are building around and he pans out, he is exactly what every great team has. And there is nothing better than building a true point guard. We'll let Doug Christie explain his vision of a true point guard. There's nothing better than building them young with the other young guys. So when you get that guy in the draft next year, the year after, 3 years from now, the group that is here, they're ready. They have the chemistry and they can integrate around that person seamlessly. And I think one guy between Acuff and Fleming fits that build a little bit better. So, what's up, Solly Man? How you doing? Rip Rick, yeah, great idea with the Rick Adelman patch on that, sir. Be safe. You be safe as well. Yeah, whoever said the Adelman patch, that's a great idea. I don't know that they would do it all season, but I would for sure do it if those uniforms ever come back. Why would you not? And by the way, best uniforms of all time, hands down, in my opinion. And if I have to choose one of the 3, it's the purple. The purple in person, it just hits different with that silver. That was like the first year or the second year that Nike came out with the swingman jerseys, because for the longest time it was the jerseys, it was the screen, like printing or whatever you want to call it, where it wasn't patched. And Nike came out with something that was in between what the players wore on the floor and being patched, and they were called swingman jerseys. So the mesh was heavier on the swingmen's than it would have been on the on-court jersey, because the on-court is dry fit. But that was the year the swingmans came out, and I had a purple one, and the silver that, oh my gosh, and that purple, and you've got the black siding. Those are really hard to beat. Rock, love the black ones. See, we could talk about this all day. Ryno, the chemistry wasn't just among the players, it was mutually with the fan base as well. It's a very good point, Paul. It's a very good point. Fans cheered their players from the starters to the last player on the bench. Yeah. Kings fans appreciated every last player on that bench, and every player had a role that actually contributed something to that team, even if they were not in the game. Think about Mateen Cleaves. Mateen didn't get a ton of tick, but everybody remembers Mateen was on that team. What do you remember him for? Swinging the towel above his head. He was that Mason Jones kind of personality that was just, what you needed. Upbeat, positive, happy to be there, helping however they can. It's just a unbelievable time. Off the clock. Went to the Kings games. What's up, by the way, Patrick? When they played at Arco Arena, Power Balance Pavilion, Sleep Train Arena, and Golden One. Yeah, I call it Arco. But, it's funny that you bring up the Power Balance Pavilion and the Power Balance bands. I think De'Aaron Fox is still wearing one of those. It looks like he wears one on his wrist. They look whatever is on his wrist looks exactly the same. I remember when the NBA schedule came out, those Lakers Kings games got circled on the calendar immediately. We used to we used to go to Vlade's wife's hangout. Yeah, Tunnel 21. Vlade owned Tunnel 21. The players get together right after the game. It was like going to Cheers. There you go. There are so many different like stories from that team, like so many different stories. So I'll tell you one that, and it's not a secret. Vlade used to smoke cigarettes, probably, maybe. I don't know if he still smokes cigarettes, but that was a thing back in the day. So I'm not going to tell you which Kings it was, but one King, heard this story from them directly, that they used to, at some point, apparently, I don't know if it was the Kings that put in the fine or if it was the players that were policing the fine, but they put into a fine amount, or like they created a fine amount if Vlade was caught with cigarettes. And they started hiding cigarettes everywhere, like they were Vlade's. They would turn up in the funniest places, and it turned into a thing. Like I could tell you like 4 or 5 that would crack you up that you wouldn't think of. And I just remember the Kings players saying of Vlade, "These are mine. They're not mine." Like, and he's throwing his hands up all animated, like it's during a game. But yeah, like they had fun with each other, man. Those guys lived on the same block, and many of them lived on the same block. And it's very much how Rick Adelman kept his group. I think Grant talked about that last night, about his assistants and how tight knit they were. So I don't think it's a coincidence that that bled down to the players. I don't. That starts with Rick and Jeff Petrie. It's where it starts. So more of this here in a second, but I've got a challenge for you. So Charles Barkley, you know what? Let me give you some inside jungle really quick. If you're a fan, and like Lynn wants to call Jim Rome. Okay. So one thing about the Rome show is, like, if you're trying to be a regular and you know, I don't want to call more than once, you've got to kind of come up with a brand, or you just have to do something that you didn't mean to do and it becomes your brand, something just completely sporadic. So I decided that my brand was going to be cracking on cities that were not as nice, that probably are on par with Sacramento. But like the joke was like cracking on cities that are about the same as Sacramento, but acting like Sacramento is like that much more classy than those dirty cities like Fresno and Riverside and Bakersfield. And I'm sharing this with you because it goes to Charles Barkley and his bit. So like, okay, let's pull up a quick call. Here we go.
No, Sacktown. Ryan in Sacktown. Hey, Ryan, what are you doing?
Hey, what's up, Jim? You're right, man. It has been a good day on the phones. Couple calls away from Emmanuel Decamu. Parody Larry's AI program works well. So think good. Eagles fans, look, Tampa did us a favor by putting you out of your misery yesterday. Even Alvy was tired of hearing about, you know, Jalen Hurts, is he going to wear the glove or not? But here's the bottom line. Turn that frown upside down, Jeffrey Lurie. Eagle fan, your season may be over, but you still took a crap on Bakersfield. Hell yeah.
Get it?
You don't like
Baker Mayfield, Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Ryan, I know you think that was genius.
Took a crap on Bakersfield. So that kind of thing. But Charles Barkley, the reason I play that is because Charles Barkley has the same thing going on right now. And it's not a new thing. This has been going on for years. Him versus San Antonio. He just cracks San Antonio. I mean, blindsides San Antonio. And to a degree, they're women. And it's been going on for a minute. So I've got a challenge for you. Awful Announcing put out a 90-second cut of Charles Barkley's greatest hits and Inside the NBA's greatest hits when it comes to San Antonio, because the finals kick off tomorrow from San Antonio. So here's my challenge. Can you get through this without laughing? I'll do it. I'll do it here with you. You'll see my reaction, but can you get through this without laughing?
Flew her in from Dallas. I guarantee you. Hey, those girls are not from San Antonio. I bet you couldn't do that to them big-ass women in San Antonio. Oh. We're not even in San Antonio. Oh, no, you could do that to them little skinny Houston. Oh. There you go. San Antonio. Oh, there's some thick ones. There's some thick ones down there. Oh, man. When we come back, they can't do all them gymnastics and flip. They got no chance of doing it. Celtics next. If they win a game, you never, ever disrespect the San Antonio women ever again. Oh, that's not going to happen. First of all, there's a dirty creek. Great Final Four. Yes, but San Antonio is a wonderful city. But
no, we really don't need to do this again.
I'm just telling you, but they got some biggest down there, Ernie. I'm telling you.
Are you happy now?
You know, I've heard from some complaints from the people of San Antonio.
Why would that be?
And they want me to apologize. That's not gonna happen.
What that's not apologize for?
Me joking about those big old women down in San Antonio.
When the Chuckster goes off on these now familiar rants about the city of San Antonio and its inhabitants, he ruffles some feathers over.
Oh, really?
Jamie took to the streets.
Oh, wow.
Local reaction.
What did you think of Charles Barkley's comments?
Oh, the man they call the round mound of rebound.
Charles Barkley was making fun of San Antonio. Isn't he from Alabama? Did he ever have hair, or has he always been bald?
Barkley? Is that a fat bald one?
How long you think it took Jamie to find those 5 women to be on that interview? No, they all know, man. It's a great city. I hope some people have.
Don't be backpedaling.
Wait, don't be backtracking. Listen. I'm telling the truth. I think it's a great city. Mm-hmm. I think they got the best organization in NBA, but they do have some big old women down there. I mean, come on. Those 5 ladies were big that he interviewed. That's why it took her all day. Come on. What I see, it took her all day. It took me a wrong way to get there. It took her all day to find 5 skinny.
All right, you got me at the end. So anybody from San Antonio, it's good-hearted. It's a shtick. He doesn't think that for real. But like, I saw some people online like taking it serious. Do you not get it? This has been going on for years and years. So yeah, that's Chuck and his love affair with San Antonio. Did you laugh at that? I like San Antonio, stationed there in the military. Thank you for your service, Rock. No, I already laughed at the image of Chuck on the screen. And that's half the joke, because Chuck's overweight, right? Such a nice guy, by the way. Charles always says it's the Bay Area sucks. All the people from the Bay Area moved to SAC. A lot of them have. Vivek wants it to be the, what is it? The tech capital of the world. Isn't it crazy to think about how during this era we had cowbells because Sacramento was a cow town / hick town? Now it's the complete opposite. I don't think Sacramento is that much different. I mean, you have more modernization, but I don't think you've got the same fans in a nicer building. And I don't think that building is as conducive for noise. I know it's gotten loud, really loud, but I don't know that it's been Arco loud. And I don't know that it can, just because of the dynamics of the building. Is the Riverwalk really dirty? Interesting. Remember how Vlade played in the season with so many sleepless nights when his country was at war? Yes. Grant has talked a lot about that in the past. Yes, I do. Can you get legit churros in Sacramento? Serious question. Okay. I might have an answer for you. So my wife is Hispanic, and her side of the family, actually she grew up in Mexico for 8 years. Anyways, so like when we eat Mexican food with that side of the family, it's authentic Mexican food, like super authentic. And we went to some my mother-in-law's I don't know, boyfriend, whatever. He wanted to go to this Mexican buffet. And the first thing I'm thinking is like Mexican buffet. Like there's certain foods that you just don't see buffet style, and Mexican's one of them. And I'm like, how is this gonna work, right? And so it's in Midtown. If anybody remembers where Hot Italian used to be, it's in that building. And so we went there, we did the buffet, it was fine, whatever. It's also a regular restaurant, but they're known for their churros. And at the end of the meal, whether it's buffet or if you eat at the restaurant, they have a window that's set up only for churros. And allegedly, because I did not get one, they went with my mother-in-law, and I think my son ate like 4 of them. I did not get to taste one, but allegedly they're pretty on par with like authentic, what you're talking about, because they went quick. So there's your answer, EMG. I don't know the name of the business. I do not know what the churro tastes like, but they heavily approved of the churro, just as we here on If You Don't Like That heavily approve of our guy Brian Bennett and Bennett's. Go check them out. West Side Grill, Roseville, Howland Fair Oaks, whichever one's easiest for you. Y'all know this, I love the brunch at Bennett's. It's so good, and it's an awesome deal too. All 3 locations, 11 to 2 o'clock on the weekends. Bubbles and brunch, you get a bottle of champagne, orange juice, and 2 entrees for under $50. Yeah, not kidding. In some cases, it's better just to do the deal and not even touch the wine. So go check it out. Also, great happy hour, 7 days a week, prime cuts, seafood, and steak. Brian has been so great to us on this channel. I really appreciate him and all of you turning out and enjoying Bennett's as well. I would recommend, you want a good steak. If you want a good steak, go there, get one of their prime New Yorks. It will feed at least you and somebody else. Get the bread to dip into it, and get the side of Brussels sprouts. Oh my gosh, you'll be in heaven. So go check them out, Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Also, if you want the lighter side, great salads, great sandwiches, great menu. So just like those churros allegedly are authentic, I can confirm Bennett's is authentic American cooking. Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Give them a try. Let them know that you heard about them here on the channel. Brian is actually, yeah, love Brian. I'm not going to go there. So now we're in churro talk. It's called 5 tacos and a beer. Okay, there you go. There you go. There's only one place to go in town. If we're, oh yeah, prime rib, amazing for sure. There's only one place to go here in Sacramento if you want a California burrito. If we're going to be on the topic of Mexican food, if you want a California burrito, in my opinion, there's only one place. They have a couple of locations, but it's the best. Because down in San Diego, where I went to college, that stuff's all over the place, and it's at a much better level. This place is on par with the stuff in San Diego, and the hot sauce is freaking so good. Look at now you have us on a tangent. What the heck are we doing? We're talking about food that is not healthy.
You are toxic.
We're getting toxic with our diets talking about all this. All right, let's switch gears really quick because I do want to talk briefly about the draft that's coming up. A lot of speculation about the Kings and how enamored they are with Darius Acuff Jr. I have watched a ton of film from Kingston Fleming and Darius Acuff Jr. I have watched almost everything that's available in college for both of these players. Now, here's what's ironic. I don't think Acuff is going to be on the board at 7, which has now spurred a bunch of talk about, well, would the Kings move up? And so you're seeing rumors out there, which I don't know that it makes sense to move up, but I don't want to go there. The real key to this is ever since the Beam Team, even halfway through the year of the Beam Team, we sat here on this channel and said the Kings' number one need is a true point guard. That is what they are missing. They need a true point guard that can be the leader of that second unit. That in games where teams are falling off of Domas, you can bring another ball handler out. Well, the Kings never went and got that guy, and the Kings kept experimenting with these. You know what? I'll give them a plug. Adalberto's, best California burrito in Sacramento. You won't find a better one. Period. You know what? Flores. You know what? I've talked to their owners and they are really good too, but not for that. Their Dirty Diana tacos, those things are really good. Not as good as Bennett's in the New York Prime. But yeah, that place is pretty good too. Yeah, at Alberto's. You probably had it, Dorian. I think it's the best California burrito in town. Yes, it's the best one in town. It's the best thing they do. It's the only thing they do. That's the only thing I'd order. That and the hot sauce. Anyways, back to the talk. The Kings have flirted with the combo guards just too much. The Kings have been very poor through multiple front offices at drafting combo guards, and that's not a Kings thing. That's a league thing. It is really hard to hit on a combo guard that can do a little bit of both at a high level. Like Jerry Reynolds always said, hey, I said the best California burrito. I said the best California burrito. I didn't say the best Mexican food. All right? Don't be putting words in my mouth, Flores. You either, Dorian. Ryno, does the horrible, or let's see, does the homie still not give you the extra salsa? No, he does now. Yeah, we're cool now. We got that all settled, so we're cool. But I try to stay away from it. It's not healthy. Okay, we're all over the place. We're California burritos. We're Bennett's. We're Rick Adelman. We're combo guards. We're Acuff. We're Flemings. Let's tie it all together. So the Kings have not done well drafting combo guards. And quite frankly, as Jerry Reynolds says, if you do not, or if you are not a starter, it's okay not to have a position. That's what a lot of the bench guys are, like a Malik Monk that's a little bit in between. But if you're going to be a starter in the league, you have to have a natural position. So drafting those guys is tricky. I go back to exit interviews last year. If you've been with the Kings Court for a minute, then you have heard this. But last year at exit interviews, Domantas Sabonis did not pull any punches about what the Kings needed. Like, seriously, he could not let the reporter, who was Jeremiah Salmonson, what's up, Jeremiah, get his question out before answering it. Jeremiah is like, so Domas, like, what do you think? What does this point guard? Jeremiah is still talking, and Domas is like, point guard. Well, take it from Domas.
What do you think? Oh, the biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
Biggest thing is we need a point guard. So, Domas, what does this team need?
Do you think?
The biggest thing is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
Yeah, Domas, what does this team need? Do you think it can be in free
The biggest thing
agency?
is we need a point guard. That's for sure.
Oh, biggest thing is we need a point guard for sure. So Scott Perry goes out. It was the number one thing this offseason. And what's he do? He gets more of a scoring point guard in Dennis Schroeder than a distributor. And it didn't work. It just flat out didn't work. Now, was it part Dennis? Was it part coaching? Was it part, guys not having defined roles? I don't know. Is it part Russell Westbrook? Dennis couldn't really get a flow. Dennis was looking over his shoulder. I don't know. But what I do know is Dennis Schroeder was not the right point guard for Sacramento. I did not like it at the time. I thought it was way too much money. And I give Scott Perry a ton of credit for getting off of Dennis Schroeder and eating his humble pie at the trade deadline. You would not see very many new GMs sit up at a podium 6 months before that and say, this is the guy that we have targeted all along. This is the guy we've targeted all along this offseason, and then trade him 6 months later. You just don't see it. EMG, crazy how we had 2 point guards hit the finals in the last 5 years, just not on the Kings. So I don't really put Fox as a true point guard. I think he's more of a combo guard. And you see that in San Antonio. Steph Castle is much closer to a true point guard than De'Aaron Fox. And that's why that's meshing so well. And then you throw some Dylan Harper in there. It's just a perfect mix of what they had. And okay, De'Aaron Fox, great example. You hit on a really good combo guard. To me, De'Aaron Fox, at least at this point in his career and the last year and a half of his career in Sacramento, he was more of a scorer than he was a distributor. He quit taking the ball inside as much, and he relied more on the three. He made a business decision for longevity. He didn't think there was enough protection inside to take those hits. Now in San Antonio, he's got a lot more protection inside in Victor Wembanyama. So De'Aaron is a good example of what hits. So let's go to this round of exit interviews. Doug Christie is, well, actually, let's go to Scott Perry. Scott Perry was asked about what the Kings need in the offseason.
Yeah, obviously, point guard is a position of need.
Okay. So the Kings still need a true point guard. We've tried about every type of point guard in this basketball realm except one that is really closer to a true point guard. Like, you tried everything. You could make the argument Schroeder was the closest thing the Kings had to a true point guard. Although I think he's still a little bit more not in levels in terms of where they rate in the league, but he's probably closer to a De'Aaron Fox category in the style of play than he would be a TJ McConnell, a Derek White, a Colin Gillespie, etc. So that's Scott Perry. How about Doug Christie? Asked about what the Kings need.
Right off the bat, point guard, this is in this league, if you don't have that position, you really don't have a chance. It's the quarterback. It's, they say quarterback in football and different things, and that's a tough position. But this one is about as difficult as it gets. This is, you're running a team, you're running a show, you're responsible for the guys on the court. You're quarterback in the defense, you're quarterback in the offense. This guy needs a shot, that guy needs a shot. When do I need to do my thing? What does the coach want? Am I representing him the right way out here? I'm the head of the snake. There's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah, please hit the like button. Would really appreciate it. Thanks for that, Athena. I do not say that enough. But yeah, would love if y'all could hit that, get those thumbs up. If we can get one more each day, be really happy with that. So Doug's looking at it. And by Doug's explanation, let me play this one more time.
Right off the bat, point guard, this is in this league, if you don't have that position, you really don't have a chance. It's the quarterback. It's they say quarterback in football and different things, and that's a tough position. But this one is about as difficult as it gets. You're running a team, you're running a show, you're responsible for the guys on the court. You're quarterbacking the defense, you're quarterbacking the offense. This guy needs a shot, that guy needs a shot. When do I need to do my thing? What does the coach want? Am I representing him the right way out here? I'm the head of the snake. There's a lot that goes into that.
Outside of a handful of games in Fox's last season in Sacramento, where he had the 2 back-to-back games where he scored 100 and some, 109 points, I want to say. Luke Laux sat De'Aaron down, and he had been texting De'Aaron about it too. And he showed him a cut of different point guards in the NBA that were touching the paint and getting the ball out. And then he showed De'Aaron some of his past highlights, touching the paint, getting the ball out. And he would continue to text him and challenge him to do that more. And during that time was when De'Aaron really got on that roll. And that's when De'Aaron was getting the 2 feet in the paint, which opened everything. It opened up his 3-ball as well. So what Doug Christie just explained is exactly what every single successful franchise needs. And it's damn near at the top of the list if you're at a spot like you are with Sacramento, where you are in a complete rebuild. It starts with the point guard. You need that guy that has all of those characteristics. Now, I'm not saying that Darius Acuff doesn't have all those characteristics. I'm not saying, all right, let me rephrase that. I'm not saying Darius Acuff can't have all those characteristics. I'm not saying that Kingston Flemings can't or does have all of those characteristics, but it is very clear to me, listening to the two, watching the two play, especially if you think about point guards now who get targeted in the league because they don't play defense. Kingston Fleming, hands down, is closer to Doug Christie's explanation than Darius Acuff. But Darius Acuff is he's faster, not by much. He's faster. He's a better 3-point shooter. He's a better 3-level scorer. But after watching Kingston Fleming's tape at Houston, there's been one massive hole that's been on this Sacramento team for 2.5 years. One massive hole. And it started to get filled a little bit more by Max Ryno this last season. That massive hole is basketball IQ. And if there's one position on the court that needs the most basketball IQ, that is the point guard. And watching Kingston Flemings, he is much closer to all of that than a Darius Acuff. Now, the flip side of that coin is Darius Acuff. Jerry Reynolds has said he reminds him, and we'll have Jerry tomorrow to talk about this. He reminds Jerry of possibly a Kyrie Irving type of player. That's a special player. Like, if you think he can be that guy, if you think that upside is there and you can develop him to that and maybe get him to play some defense. Darius Acuff has done some interviews saying it's an effort thing. He needs to, just put more into it on the defensive side of the basketball. Then okay, that's the guy. But he's also your prototypical combo guard. So it will be another year, in my opinion, that you don't have another true point guard. And Darius Acuff is a high usage player. At least he was in college. He's going to want to take a lot of shots. And maybe by the time this roster fills out, you're going to need that guy to take a lot of shots. But I'd put it this way. If I was sitting at if I was sitting at a roulette table, okay, and it was 50-50 in green, red, black, green. Green being that one of those guys was going to be the star. And then the 50-50 being, well, everything I just explained about Acuff, everything I just explained to my eye about Flemings. I'm putting my money all in on Kingston Flemings. I am. His 3-point shot, still up in the air. He did not take enough of them in college to really say whether it's there or not. Listening to his interviews, but not only listening, but seeing that translate to his tape. Sure, the guys are going to say what the teams want them to hear, or the teams want players to say when they meet with them and when they're at the combine. But a lot of what Kingston Fleming said that's important to him and what he focuses his game around, you can see it translate onto the court as that leader out there, that guy that's understanding who needs to get a shot, that guy that sees the floor extremely well. To me, the basketball IQ, which has been very low on this basketball team, super low across the board at times, even with your best players. I could point it out with anybody who was a top 5 player last year on the Kings. The basketball IQ, if you are going off of that, it's with Kingston Flemings. It completely is. He lines up much more with this.
Right off the bat, point guard, this is in this league, if you don't have that position, you really don't have a chance. It's the quarterback. It's, they say quarterback in football and different things, and that's a tough position. But this one is about as difficult as it gets. You're running a team, you're running a show, you're responsible for the guys on the court. You're quarterbacking the defense, you're quarterbacking the offense. This guy needs a shot, that guy needs a shot. When do I need to do my thing? What does the coach want? Am I representing him the right way out here? I'm the head of the snake. There's a lot that goes into that.
We went over a couple of weeks ago what the scout told me when we talked about the two players and compared and contrasted. And now that I've watched considerably more film, and again, I don't work in a front office. I just think I have a pretty good eye and understanding of basketball, and hopefully that shows by my credibility that I've hopefully built with some of you when it comes to things that I say, things to watch for, seeing them play out, like the Spurs saying they're going to win the championship after I saw them in person. Like I'm looking at the game at a different level. It's like I can read basketball like some people can read or read music. It just translates to me. And so to me, again, especially the handles, the leadership, I think it's Fleming's. But there's a lot of ties with Acuff, with he's from Detroit, PJ Armstrong, Scott Perry, ties to Detroit. Scott Perry was in San Antonio last weekend to meet with Fleming's. So I don't know. And here's the other thing too. If we're talking about having to trade up to get Acuff, you better be sure. You better be sure. There's just not enough for me with Acuff, and I'm not trying to knock him. He is a really good player. He's an exciting player. He's electric. There is not enough, or there's enough concern to my palate that I can't put my money on Green and say, nope, you know what? This guy's going to be a star. This guy is going to be similar, like Jerry Reynolds said, could be similar to a Kyrie Irving. I just can't do it. I think at this point in this rebuild, you got to go a lot more on the solid side. You've got to start there because it's something the Kings have not had. Now, I understand Domantas Sabonis might not be back. I don't think he will be back, but that does not change the need. In fact, that makes the need all the more important because that's a creator that you're losing if Domas is no longer here. And on top of that, I'm looking at the guys that we know are going to be part of the core of this team. Max Ryno. What does Max thrive off of? It's the pick and roll, right? And Russ started to trust him with it. Malik trusted him with it. It's that little pocket and it's that little flip shot that Max gets up so quickly. You saw Hartenstein doing that. Hartenstein, excuse me, doing that in the finals or the conference finals a lot. You need a guard that's going to have that chemistry with Max Ryno. And I'm not saying that you can't have it with Acuff. I just think there's more of that true possibility of point guard closer to your, if I had to, and I hate doing it, and I did it last week, if I had to put a comp on what I think Fleming's could be, and maybe a little better, I think of like a Mike Conley type. This is a great example. A Mike Bibby, Tony Parker weren't great defenders. Would like to see 3-and-D kind of guys. Scott Perry's talked about wanting to have guys that play both sides of the court. And that's closer to the Fleming side. Daniel, trading up is dicey. Yes, it is. That's what I'm saying. That is, at this time, you need, especially with the payroll situation that's going on with the Kings, you need as much draft capital as you can have because you don't know if you're going to have to dish some salary. You don't know if you can't take a step back. Like trading up means they think, in my opinion, like Acuff, if we're using the roulette analogy, he's the green. And I just don't think I don't think it's there. Now, all this being said, I've maintained it. I don't think Acuff's going to be on the board by the time the Kings are picking. So whether they trade up, whether he's on the board, whether he's off, I'm going to stand by, and I might be wrong. I've been wrong before. Remember this. There can be, sometimes we forget, you can very much delineate between getting a really good player or a player being better than another if you pit them head to head. But on the other side of that coin, the player that is on the lesser side of those two might be the better fit for a team, because that's what this is about. This is about building a team right now. It's not about, and if Acuff was that guy, if the Kings were at the top of the draft and you are looking at Dabonsa, Darren Peterson, then okay, you're building around somebody. You think that might be the guy the Kings have never had, okay? But where the Kings are drafting, I don't think you're going to get that guy. I don't. And I just think the better fit is Fleming's. I'm going against the grain. It's not as popular. And don't be surprised if that starts to kind of shift as we go along in this draft process, because we're still, 18, 19 days away from the draft. A lot can change. One thing I do know is unless you're trading up for one or two, I think it's a bad deal. I think it's a really bad deal. You like Ryno when you spend 5 minutes to get the channel on my radio. Thanks, dude. Appreciate you. Yeah, it's a good question, Jason. Wagler he's a project. he's a project, and I don't. He might end up being a little bit better. I hate to say this because it's not fair. They're completely different, but you know what? I'm not going to say it because it's not fair to Wagler. But he's a project at point guard. You know what? I would put him closer to the project of Neek Clifford at point guard than I would to a guy that can handle the ball in the NBA right now. That's what I would do. I think he's going to be really good, but you got to have some time to let him develop. And this team needs a point guard right now. Right now. Not going to say they're going to step onto the court, average double-double every single game right off the bat. They're going to have their bumps. They're going to have their ebbs, their flows, ups, downs. But you need somebody with basketball IQ. That is what I am looking at. And to my eye, watching the tape, and again, not saying AKF does not have basketball IQ. Fleming's, the IQ jumps off the page to me. Completely jumps off the page. So if you want to react to that, let me know. Daniel, 100% Ryno. It's all about fit with these guards. Too difficult to tell who will be better. Yeah, the fit is just, it's so much better. It feels like for me, like if anybody plays Prize Picks, if you do, go use the code, or if you don't, sign up. Code Ryno50. Here's a great analogy that I can shoot to you. Tomorrow, there is a discount on Prize Picks, which is America's #1 daily fantasy site. You don't have to play about or against the big sharks, a million other people. You're just playing against the numbers. That's what's great about it. Pick 2 to 6 players, choose more or less on their stat projections, and let them do the work for you. Also, you can cash out early. It has been one of my favorite things about Prize Picks so far. If your team that you've picked or your players are doing really well, take the early cash out if you think something can change and make your money there as well. Use promo code Ryno50, get you $50 in free play after your first $5 lineup. Wemby tomorrow. Here's the analogy. Wemby tomorrow is a discounted, it's a special that they're going to do for the NBA Finals. All you have to do is pick over half of a point for Wemby. And Wemby will be a stat prediction win for you if he scores 1 point. Pick another player, choose their projection. If that player hits, guess what? You've won. So my analogy is Kingston Fleming's feels like one of those discounts with Prize Picks where I know Wemby's probably going to score a point. I know what I'm getting. So that already feels like a win. That's the best way I could put it. I'm sorry. But go get Prize Picks. Go check them out. They're fun. It's just a better feeling. Let's bring Tay into the conversation. What's up, Tay?
Hey, Ryan. How are you doing today?
Good. How you doing, man?
Good. Thanks for taking my call, as always. Appreciate it. I've been following the Clippers media very closely here in Southern California as well. And as far as who they like at number 5, they are leaning, and obviously this is just from the media. It's not said and done. I don't know what Lawrence Frank is thinking, but they're leaning very closely to getting either Keaton Waugler or Mikael Brown Jr. because they feel like they already have a Darius Garland as their point guard of the future, and believe that Acuff Jr. is going to coincide a lot, and they feel that Wagler or Mikael Brown Jr., a bigger guard that can play alongside Garland, is a better fit. That being said, I think Acuff Jr. is most likely going to New Jersey. Brooklyn. So I feel like Scott Perry cannot make a wrong decision with taking Flemings because he would really be the best one available at that spot, right?
Yes, I think it is where best available and point guard lineup. And Scott has already said they're going to draft best available.
What's your thoughts on Adi Mara as a potential center for the future to play him alongside Maxime Ryno. I mean, 7'3" center. I think obviously to contend with Jokic, Wembanyama, Gobert. Um, I feel like we should give Mara a look as well, but I know he's not as high on the prospect list as these crop of point guards. But I think he will be an interesting candidate to at least give a look. I know not many media members are talking about him. So.
I'm not as worried about the center position. Dealing with some of the other bigger bigs that you're talking about. You only see Jokic a few times a year, right? And I don't think the Kings are making the playoffs this year, probably not next year. I think you keep developing. Now, if Mara drops and you can get him and trade up into the first round again, then maybe you look at him. But I think you continue building Dylan Cardwell. I honestly think Dylan Cardwell, and I put it out the day the Kings played the Knicks. I said, you are watching a younger version of Mitchell Robinson go up against himself tonight. And Mitchell Robinson is the best offensive rebounder in the NBA and rim protector to a degree. I think in the way they played each other, I mean, it was great. But I think you have something in Dylan Cardwell that can really cause some problems for some of those bigger guys because of his verticality and his size and strength.
Yeah, I agree as well. I mean, Hardwell is limited offensively, but it's not offense that we're looking from him. It's really the scrappy defense, rebounding, and just that energy, off the bench.
Yep.
So I'm really excited to see what's in store for him. I'll just end with this. I've been listening to Clippers media, a lot as well because I'm down here. And the other day they were just talking about how they really regretted passing up on Maxime Ryno and drafting Yannick Conan-Edenhauser. So, that goes on to tell you that other markets are also looking at, how good Max was the first year. So kudos to him. The Clippers are, sort of regretting the decision that they didn't take Ryno, at that 30th spot and instead took, Conan-Edenhauser. So kudos to, Maxime.
Yep, 100%. You know, it's so funny. I will never forget Yannick because we were doing the live draft show.
Yeah.
And we were doing the picks, and Grant's like, oh, the Clippers just made their pick. He goes, Ryno, why don't you announce that one? And I'm like, okay. And I look over and I see the name and I'm like, oh my gosh, he just jerried me. And I'm
you
like,
had a perfect pronunciation.
I know, I nailed it. I had never seen the name and I nailed it. I was like, Yannick Conan-Edenhauser. So he'll stick with me for a minute. But yeah, that was one of those things. Max was 3 votes out of the all first team rookie team. So that's pretty damn good.
In retrospect, just surprised as to how much he fell in the draft. But I mean, again, the Clippers almost took him, so he really had potential to begin with. So
teams are there, and I asked Scott about this and the Kings because I thought his strategy was so sound last year in the draft. He understood he needed to get guys that could get on the court this year, potentially get on the court this season. And both picks had similarities. They both had played 4 years or over in college. And so I asked him at exits about, how do you value a player that's played 4 or more versus a one and done? And they don't value one or the other. They take it on a case-to-case basis. But I do think there's other teams out there that do. It hurt certain guys in the past, or we've seen guys, Dalton Connect, fall in the draft because he had played more years in college. And I think that is what kept some teams away from Max Ryno.
Agreed. Thanks for the insight.
Yeah.
I'll just end with one more point. Only thing I'm worried about Kingston Flemings is his, obviously he's undersized, and we've been talking a lot about his wingspan. His game kind of reminds me of Rob Dillingham's game. I think he was the 7th pick in 2024 draft or 2023, and obviously Rob Dillingham hasn't panned out.
He's not panned out, yeah.
Well, he's still young, but I see some similarities in their game. Very flashy, really good ball handlers, but just not able to translate it onto NBA court. So just hope that if we get Flemings, that he has a different trajectory than Dillingham. So
Yeah, no, it's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up. Thanks, Tay.
all right,
Stay
have a
well
good day,
down in
Ryan.
SoCal, buddy. All right.
Thanks, man. Yeah.
Yeah, he brings up a really good point, and that was something that I talked with the scout about. That came up about the first contact. How is Fleming's going to be able to take that in the NBA? You know what I mean? That not a playoff bump. We're talking like a regular season bump, because a playoff bump now moves everyone. But that was a little bit of concern. To Tay's point, that being said, these guys grow, they get stronger. And it's a little bit not as big of a concern with Acuff because he's quicker, but Fleming's is still very quick and fast. But yeah, it right now that's a fair point. I'm not going to put him in a Dillingham class, but that was a question that came up. That first bump, both offensively and defensively, what's that look like? Does that completely get him off where he was headed? What's the recovery look like? Do we get the testing they do on these guys is so ridiculously stupid. Yeah, Dillingham is a little bit smaller, but like they're measuring muscle percentage of growth over their years, like from high school to college. So they know like what's capable, where these guys are at. Can they still gain a decent amount of muscle? Do you want them to gain a decent amount of muscle? Will it hurt the way they play? And I kind of feel like, and I don't know what those numbers look like, I kind of feel like Fleming's is in that category where, he's going to be able to put enough on to take that bump eventually. But that's me. Yeah, that's kind of, you know what? That's the motto of, hey, Kings, if you guys are listening, I don't mind if you promote this. Scout, develop, retain. Get rid of the 6 pillars. Those are the new pillars. Scout, develop, retain. That's it. Brought to you by the King's Court. Scout, develop, and retain. That is the goal going forward. Fun day here on the King's Court. I appreciate you being here. Give us a thumbs up. Tomorrow we have our first Jerry Reynolds Wednesday. Can't wait for that. Jerry Reynolds will join us at 3:30. We'll have plenty to talk about. Certainly Rick Adelman, your questions about the NBA draft. We'll get Jerry's take now that the combine is in the books. Really looking forward to having Jerry here. If you've not been a part of a Jerry Reynolds day, they used to be Tuesdays. Now they're Wednesdays. They're a lot of fun because you're a part of the process as well. So bring your best questions. Some of you, we are open to taking a phone call here and there. Just try to get in and get out because we want to be respectful of Jerry's time. But join us for that 3:00. And then also tomorrow night, Grant and I are going to start doing some post-game shows for the NBA Finals. So after each game ends, with the exception of this Sunday, make sure you come to If You Don't Like That. We'll be breaking down the games and talking about the other things that went on in sports that day. But again, the big thing today, remembering Rick Adelman and just that era of Kings basketball, reminiscing on just, we went for how long talking about this? Could do it for another 2 hours, but I think Grant put it really well last night to end our show. So I'm going to end with Grant's words from last night on Rick Adelman. Make it a great rest of the day. Grant tonight, 7:00. Jerry Reynolds tomorrow. Can't wait to see you then. Here's Grant closing out last night's show on his time around Rick Adelman.
Rick Adelman came to Sacramento in a time where, for the first time, fans had stopped going to the games. they had stopped going to the games. It was a really bad situation in Sacktown. 1998. Mitch Richmond didn't want to play anymore. Fans didn't want to go to the games. Then there was a lockout. 50-game season. Rick Adelman had come into town. Jeff Petrie signed Vlade Divac. He drafted Jason Williams. And he made a trade, Mitch Richmond for Chris Webber. And when the season began on February 5th that year, we didn't know what to expect in a 50-game season. And it became very apparent that the Kings were a new version of what we had all wanted and all desired. And Rick Adelman was the man to put it all together. Manage the egos, keep Jay Will in check, keep Chris Webber in check, make sure that the team understood that it was going to be team basketball that got it done. And he also was a man of values and a man of principle. And that never, ever left the building. When Rick talked to the team, when Rick was out in public, that was always paramount. We're a family. That's how we conduct ourselves. We're a family. And you're professionals. And I expect you to act like it and be ready to go to work. Family, though, is paramount. Our families and us as an organization, as a family. And that was the mantra throughout his tenure in Sacramento, which was the best 8 years of any coach with the Sacramento Kings since moving from Kansas City in 1985. All of my memories of Rick are good ones. I don't have any bad memories of Rick. He was that type of a man. Quiet, dry sense of humor, but behind the scenes, a man that would not be afraid to laugh, not be afraid to tell some stories and some jokes, but in front of the lens, all business, all about the team. He was always about the team. You never heard Rick throw a player under the bus. Rick took a lot of bullets for his players. Rick always remembered that. Rick always protected his players. Always. Never, ever threw his players under the bus. The players loved Rick. They loved playing for Rick. And I speak for a lot of the guys today that I haven't even spoken to other than Scott that are sad because Rick Adelman is gone at the age of 79. Rest in peace to the greatest coach in the history of the Sacramento Kings, but more importantly, a great man, a great father, a great husband. That's how I'll remember Rick Adelman.